I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. It's the Wednesday show, folks. You know what that means. I bring in somebody every week. Sometimes it's Teresa Strasser. Ever since Miss Gina went on to big time radio. And then other times we get one of my business partners, a guy that works with me, the guy who's helping me turn one of my companies around, purevitaminclub.com. Actually, all three of them. You know, Chris and I work diligently. I'm speaking of none other than Mr. Chris Shaffer. Yeah.
I have to say the least attractive of the three options, which is not something I'm used to, but I'll go with it.
Well, look, Gina is awesome as a human being, very easy on the eyes. Teresa Strasser is kind of like the female version of me. We've had long conversations where it's almost like we're in love. I'll start a sentence and she'll finish it. We talk off the air. That's something Gina and I used to do it a bit, but not like Teresa and me. And again, unlike me, very easy on the eyes. So, yeah, you not so much.
So what you're saying is you have to have me in rotation just to feel like the pretty princess in the room.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I didn't say that, but there you go. Chris, were you able to hear that song? Sometimes people can hear the song, sometimes they can't.
Yeah, it was In the Air Tonight. Some Phil Collins.
Yeah, Phil Collins. Now, that song has significance in what we're going to talk about today, because we're going to be talking about working out at the beginning of this. I know you have a story. Hopefully we can get to it. But we're going to be talking a little bit about exercise, because there's a new Vinnie here when it comes to exercise. Okay. Make no mistake. So, 1981, January 1981, that song came out. I played my last high school game just months before that, football, in 1980. Looks like we were going to go to state. We lost the game district right there towards the end. Crashed our hopes down in White Castle, Louisiana. That was after we beat Patterson. That's where the famous Dalton Hilliard played ball. Dalton went on to have an incredible career, setting records at LSU as a running back, and then had a long career as a New Orleans Saint. So he played all of his football in Louisiana, junior high, which is where he and I started going after each other, high school, and then college at LSU, and then stayed in Louisiana and went straight to the Saints. That's highly unusual. Wouldn't you say, Chris?
That's fun though, right? Like that's one of those things where you're like, yeah, I'm definitely the hometown guy, right? A little bit like when LaShawn McCoy came to Philly, or, you know, it's one of those kinds of things where at least you get to hang around, you get to be the hometown favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you have some people like Drew Brees down in New Orleans who became
a hometown favorite, right? Yeah.
Right. And he now considers himself to be a New Orleans person, but right. You don't always get to see that, which is kind of cool.
You know, people used to ask me about Dalton Hilliard, and I said, you know what? I owe him for me getting a college scholarship. And folks, you should look at this in life. The guy was an unbelievable running back. He would march up and down the field to the tune of, and I'm not making this up, sometimes he would have 400 and 500 yards rushing in high school. He was able to cut off of his front foot like Gale Sayers. And the guy was just he wasn't very tall, and he was able to cut fast and the whole thing. So everybody in the nation was down there looking at him. And there was one team that would always hold him to 1 or 2 touchdowns. And we actually beat him in our senior year. We held them to 1 touchdown, and we beat them by, 14-7. So they start coming a looking. Who's stopping this phenom? Oh, that whop on the other side of the ball has something to do with him not getting 400 yards. Let's look at him. So you see, a lot of times it's, people are always going, I want an easy opponent in life, right? Everyone's always looking for the easy way out in life. Here goes my stoicism again. But sometimes the easy way are trying to get a free ride, so to speak, something for nothing, right? Doesn't work the way you want it to work. As it turns out, look, I would be on pins and needles when I knew I had to go down to Patterson, Louisiana, or I knew that bus from Patterson was showing up in Donaldsonville. I was on pins and needles that whole week. Half the time I was about to throw up, just thinking about the game night and day. I don't know how I had any grades in school in the fall when that week would come. I couldn't do it, right? But it was in my mind to somehow, because my freshman year, his brother, Stack Hilliard, they called him Stack. When you have a nickname in high school, and they had me playing defensive end. Now, listen, I'm barely 6 feet. At the time, I was almost 6'1", but look, that's where I was. They had me outside linebacker that year. All week long, Vinnie, contain, just whatever. Stack starts going out to the edge, get him back to the middle so we can have a chance to tackle him. Right? Second game from the line of scrimmage, those bastards sucked me in for one step and I went, ooh, and I'm still going this way when Stack is running right past me, 75 yards for a touchdown. You learn a lesson, right? Never let a Hilliard get past you again. Now, I got to be honest with you. The Hilliard's got past me a lot, but I stopped him a lot. And that's what makes it. That it's not about having an easy time. Nobody cares about you being able to dunk if you're going to do it from a trampoline, right? No one cares. In life, you got to show up. Sometimes you got to grow up. And I can thank that guy for me getting a free college education. So Dalton, wherever you are today, can you look him up and see give him a Wikipedia or something, Chris? Let's see where Dalton Hilliard is today. Good looking fella. The guy was built like a brick shit house. But yeah, that was 1980.
5'8", 196.
Yeah, his legs.
Big boy.
By the way, his quads, if you could find photos of his quads, it looked like he just stayed in the weight room all day. He never lifted weights. He was just a fast sprinter.
What are his legs look like compared to like Saquon?
His were better. I'm not kidding. He had bodybuilding looking legs. And by the way, at that height, great on the basketball court too. Incredible. And I'll never forget, that spring, he had one more year to go. We were down in Patterson for a track meet. He came over to me in the infield and, first thing he said was, hey man, great game. Great game. He was talking about that game when we beat him. He came over and thanked me and congratulated me months later in the spring, which brings up health and fitness while Chris is looking up Dalton Hilliard.
Yeah,
Please tell me he's pretty quiet, right?
He seems to have fallen off the face of the earth. So the Wikipedia section that's like post football is like, he has two nephews who play, right? Ike and Kenny.
Yeah, like the Hilliard family, they're just a family of incredible athletes, right? But he was always a quiet guy, stayed out of the media, didn't want media attention, that kind of thing. But just quietly, the most quiet, gentle human being you would ever meet until he got on the football field. And then it was like, oh my God. At any rate, that January, a song came out. And that song had that drum beat at the end. It had everything. I feel like I can hear it in the background right now. It had everything. This is kind of when people started really paying attention to Phil Collins, right? I can almost hear it, Chris. I can't quite hear it, but I can almost hear it. At any rate, I was going crazy working out at that point, just crazy. As soon as football was over with, basketball season came, I was working out like a madman. I was in the gym because I knew I was going to be playing D1 football the next year. And I wasn't looking to get there and start training when I got there. I started right away. I literally gave myself the flu during basketball season from going to the gym at 4:30 in the morning, overworking. I didn't know about overworking back then. Doing squats, doing everything in the gym every morning, going to Joe's. I had a key. I would open it up, turn on the jacuzzi and the whole thing for Joe, get everything, and then work out in the dark, and then go to school, and after school play basketball, and then a few hours later wake up and work out again. Literally drove myself into the ground and didn't know it. Didn't know, because I didn't know about rest, right? Didn't know anything. I was young and dumb. But by that summer, and that song became, everybody wants to think, Rocky and all that. No, this song became the soundtrack of my life because I didn't have CDs. There was no CDs. I didn't have cassette tapes. I couldn't afford them. None of that. But there was a radio in Joe's gym. That's all it was, a radio. And that radio was what I listened to, right? That radio, that song, they would play it sometimes twice an hour. No matter which station you went to, that song was playing. It became the song, the soundtrack for me working out. Think of the movie, the greatest movie ever. Oh, God, what is it? I can't think with the song Lunatic Fringe. Vision Quest. I was Vision Quest. Like I was going to hit the ground running, and that song was on all the time. Squatting, deadlifts, bench press, all of it, right? That summer, the song was still played in rotation like you wouldn't believe. Look up that song and see if it won any awards or Golden Blizzard or went to number one or whatever. The radios could not get enough of that song because of that drum solo at the end. And there's a reason why I'm thinking about that song and working out. Did you find something, Chris?
Drum sound release. It was a futuristic pop song that was rhythmically captivating. I don't see anything. It had to have won a Grammy or something, right?
You would think, because, you could go to a country and western station back then, and this song was showing up.
Okay, so it doesn't look like it won any music awards,
Amazing.
But it got the best video Grammy.
You see, because I didn't know from videos back then, right? Even though that had kind of started, because I'm still out country bumpkin, all gone.
And it didn't even win. It got the nomination.
Wow.
So it got, for the Laserdisc version, by the way.
Well, down in Louisiana, they were playing this song nonstop. It became the soundtrack of me working out, right? Just that song. And I was just killing myself that whole summer. I've talked about it on this podcast. I would, but I used to do this in high school before that point too. I would sleep in a hot bedroom, and this is in southern Louisiana. I would tape up. My house had central air. You can still see the tape marks. I would tape a thing up so that my room could be hot. In my car, I would ride around with the windows rolled up to be hot. I would go work out at 1:00 in the afternoon on the football field. After I got out of the gym, I would go to the football field so that I can work out in the heat of the day. Heat training, I called it. I had some crazy ideas back then. The reason I bring that up today is because at 62, I feel like I'm heading back in that direction.
See if we can keep you out of the plastic garbage bags and off the football field at 1 PM.
But here's the difference. I'm not doing all the crazy stuff now because of my education and doing this for a gazillion years and, just everything we know about science now. I'm able to work out and rest and do everything and take it to a different level, right? And all of this started during cancer. Okay. Now, I haven't put any decrees in place, but there's a few things that I'm doing. And I'm telling people my story because I'm hoping my story can inspire you in some way to do your story. There's a guy I want to bring up during this. Let me write his name down. Hang on. All right. So, Chris, as you know also well, I went through chemo. A lot of people know that back in May. And pretty quickly, I got pretty weak. Do you remember how many push-ups I was able to do on that fateful day when I tried push-ups?
It was single digits.
I can't remember now, but I remember getting to 3. And I can't remember if I got the 4th one out or got the 5th one out. But I remember the 3rd one, and I went, holy shit, I got to get to 5. And I got number 4. And folks, I'm not kidding. That's how weak I was. I couldn't get a 5th push-up. I think I got the 5th one out by hook or by crook. I just willed myself to get the 5th one out, and then my body collapsed to the floor. That's all I had. To the point where I made a couple of videos several weeks later, that's on a VIP group, where I said, hey, start moving with me. And maybe I should get back to the exercise thing, Chris. I know we have a lot going on, so we haven't gone back to that exercise thing, but I need to go back to that because I want to keep motivating people that it's not just about what you eat. You have to be healthy also, right? You need to do exercise. Okay. With all of that in mind, I was in Mammoth towards, I was done with the chemo, but the chemo is still in my body. And I had to go to California to take care of business with the companies and everything else. The doctor gave me the A-OK to fly. And while I was there, I told Serena I needed to go up to Mammoth. I needed a break. I needed to get away. And Mammoth made me realize a lot of things. One, I was completely out of shape. I had a pass to climb Mount Whitney that, like within a few days of being in Mammoth. I gave the pass up. I was going to go up with my buddy Dan Lynch, who's been on this podcast. I gave it up because I knew I couldn't do it, right? I was hiking around Mammoth and I was doing okay. My aerobics were coming back. But I realized something about both Dan and myself when we were hiking one day. Dan is exactly my age. He stays very fit. He's a rower. And I looked at his body and I looked at my body and I said, you know what? I'm not impressed with us anymore. We're both bragging about, well, my heart rate was up by that point, our resting heart rates and this and that, being aerobically fit and the whole thing. And even though I still pump iron, I wasn't pumping iron the way I used to. And at 62, we hear all of the stuff, sarcopenia. And I would lie to myself, Vinnie, you're fighting sarcopenia. You're fighting it and you're winning. You're not, you're keeping your strength. Even though I lost a lot of strength, I was starting to get it back just slowly and slowly and slowly. But I'm looking at me and Dan and I'm going, you know what? I'm not happy with Dan. Sorry, Dan. And I'm not happy with me. And to Dan's point, Dan's been through cancer worse than me. He's had it worse than me, right? So both of our bodies have been ravaged by cancer and also chemo. And he's had other problems along with his. It's not for me to sit here and talk about Dan. But it's like, you know what? I'm not going to just do aerobics anymore. I'm not going to just do a cursory amount of strength training. I want to get strong again. Even though every doctor, every bit of science and everything else will tell you the best you can hope for is just to hang on to what you got. And I'm sitting here going, you know what? I can lower my fat a little bit because I eat pretty close to 65, 70% fat, drop that down to 50%, add a little more protein in, and see if I can have some muscle synthesis happening the way it used to happen, even though my testosterone is in a tank, even though I'm not going to take, HRT. I think we talked about that the last time you were on. I know that I can get strong. I know that I can. And while I was still in Mammoth, my buddy Dan went off to climb Whitney and he made it. First successful trip. I was very happy for Dan. Took him a little longer than he thought, but he got it done. Proud of that guy. He's a good guy. I stayed in Mammoth, And Dan and I, before we left, we found a gym because the gym I used to go to in Mammoth doesn't exist anymore. I found a box. Now, you know what a box is, right?
Yeah, more like a CrossFit style gym, right? A garage with some weights in it.
Yeah, this guy had a very nice box, and it was closed because he only opens it for classes. He teaches a couple of classes. His wife teaches a couple of classes. I met the guy. He's my age. He's the real deal. He believes in health and fitness. He looks amazing. And I called him I saw a number I called him on the telephone. I said, hey, I would like to come in. I'm just in Mammoth for a couple of days. Would you mind? And he said, yeah, I'll have you come in. And he goes, I'll be there tomorrow at this time training myself. So I showed up exactly when he said he was going to be there. I was waiting for him. And I worked out. While I was there, because I had to sign a release saying that if I trip and fall and bust my nuts, I'm not going to sue him. I guess people do this nowadays. I guess the guy went and Googled me. And he came up to me towards the end. He goes, hey, man. He goes, I just Googled you. And I was like, yeah. He goes, why didn't you tell me who you were? I was like, because I'm nobody. He goes, oh my God, you know this guy and that guy. We have friends down in LA and the whole thing. I was like, yeah. So he says, look, here's the code. That's where you turn the lights off. He goes, I'm out of here. Leave whenever you want. So when you come back tomorrow, here's the code to get in. Right? So he gave me the keys to his castle. On day 2, I went back in to work out again, had a whole workout, and he had one of those rogue assault bikes. You know what I'm talking? You know what an assault bike is?
Oh, yeah.
Explain it to the audience while I take a sip of water.
It is the world's worst form of cardio as far as I'm concerned, right? It's not your typical exercise bike. It's just the ones with the big fans, right?
Yeah, it's very similar to the Schwinn. The Schwinn Airdyne. Yeah.
But the Rogue ones are, the butt's a lot lower on the Rogue than it is on the Schwinn. So you're really hauling on it.
Yeah.
Let me see. I think I can pull one of these up here.
Yeah. So he had one of those in there while Chris is pulling it up. So your hands are going at the same time. It's just like the Schwinn Airdyne, which was the original thing. Chris just pulled one up. So I looked at that and I went, okay. I've been seeing these assault bikes. Everyone talks about it. I remember being on the Airdyne back in the day a few times, just not very happy with it. And I looked in the programs. I got on it, warmed up. It was at the end of a long workout, Chris. So I get on the thing and I warm up a little bit on it for 8 or 10 minutes. And while I'm warming up, I'm looking through the programs. And I went, okay, let me see. Everyone talks about these acid baths and the whole thing. And I'm a zone 2 guy. Screw this and the whole thing. Let me do this. I took a really easy program. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like 8 or 10 times, 20 seconds hard, 20 seconds on, and then 20 seconds easy. It might have been 30 and 30 or something. I can't really remember what the program was, but it was preordained in the system. So I went, okay, this one looks really easy. Let me do this one. And I did. And of course, I was sitting at 8,200 feet when I did this. And I'd just gotten done with chemo. So I guess I'm giving you my excuses right now. But it kicked my ass. I got through the whole thing. I didn't really get to an acid bath because my lungs couldn't handle it. I was still fighting chemo and altitude. And at the end of it, I was like, okay, I'm about to throw up here. Go on, Chris, you're laughing.
So you know that I moved recently and I was already fairly high altitude wise, around a mile, but I'm now about 1.5 miles. So it's like 7,400 feet.
Yeah.
There is nothing in the world that will make you feel more like a fat ass than walking at an altitude that is different than you are used to, much less getting on an assault bike or, my favorite from the Sky Mall catalog, Vinnie, the range of motion machine. Right.
Oh, the ROM. Yeah.
ROM. Yeah.
Yeah. The ROM. I've had clients who have had those.
They're
It
fun.
was for rich people. Yeah. I would show up to clients' houses and there was a rock star I used to train. He had one. It wasn't even in his gym. And I was like, what are you doing with that? He goes, I just thought it was cool, like a cool piece of art. Because they were like $15,000 or $16,000, and they claimed to get you in shape in like 3 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day, but you only had to do it like every other day or something. It was a hoax, right? But if you actually, I used to play with one at one of my clients' houses, and I always felt like it was a great warm up, right? It really, it's range of motion. You do this range of motion, so it's like, okay. So I did this assault bike, and I was on the floor going, am I going to throw up? And it's like, well, I'm at altitudes and chemo and the whole thing. But it never left my mind. It never left my mind that that thing conquered me. That piece of machinery on the easiest setting, even though you saw what I could do push-up wise, I didn't give myself a break. All I did was thought about that machine, thought about it and thought about it. So I came home and started looking around my gym. It's like, where can I put an assault bike? Because this place is pretty packed. And then I realized I have 2 spinners in here right now. I have a regular Schwinn spinner, and I have one with my power cranks on it, a bike with power cranks. And it just occurred to me, get the bike with the power cranks out of here, put it in the shed, because you're not using it right now. I'm not training for a cycling event. I don't really need to be on the power cranks, right? And I can always pull it out if I need it for some special thing, move the assault bike in right there. But then you move on with life, right? You and I have been working a lot. I still work out like a crazy man. I'm getting in good shape. I'm doing the whole thing. Serena says to me, you order your boots yet? And I went, yeah, I've been looking. She goes, you order anything yet? This is our lazy way of, we don't give each other Christmas gifts. She gets what she wants, and I say, you're welcome. And she's,
That's good.
there's no guessing, right? And then there's always like a little surprise gift, like something she said during the year. I'll remember, and something I said during. It comes down to sweaters or more, darn tough socks or whatever, icebreaker underwear, the wool underwear. That's what we end up,
like real people lingerie is what you're saying, right? Like,
yeah, outdoor stuff that we use, right? But this year I was looking at it, it's like, all right, which Lucchese boots will I add to the collection this year? Right. That's Serena says she gave me a gift. And in the middle of looking at these boots and realizing what the cost on these boots are, and it's like, I was feeling guilty. I was like, you know what? I don't really want another pair of boots. What do I really want? What do I really want? And it came to me. My mind went right back to Mammoth, California. It went right back to 1981. I want to be in the best shape of my life every single day. And the one thing that's missing is my assault bike. So I got on and I looked, and by the way, I didn't get on by myself. I mentioned it to someone, Mr. Don Coddington.
The billionaire Don Coddington's Friday, 5 o'clock.
I said, Don, I'm getting an assault bike. I'm not only interested in zone 2 anymore. I want to make sure that my VO2 max is on point, and I'm working on my gym. I'm getting stronger in the gym. I'm adding weight to the bar, right? I'm almost back where I was before cancer. I'm getting there. It's been a long road. I'm still not clear of cancer, by the way. Like, I haven't gotten the complete okie dokie. I'm almost there. Okay. But I'm getting my strength back. I'm getting my aerobics back. I want my VO2 to be on point. Don was looking it up while I was telling him this, and he goes, hey man, $100 off right now at Rogue. I immediately went to my computer and ordered myself an assault bike. And on top of that, there was free shipping. But folks, this is not an ad, by the way, for Rogue. I think the company sucks. Even though they have the best equipment out there, They've never given me a discount on anything, even though I have one of their racks right behind me on this podcast, right? They won't give me a discount. But you know what? I got that $100 off plus free shipping, and that bike will be showing up here tomorrow on the 8th. The 8th of November.
And why do I have the sneaking suspicion that if that shows up before, I don't know, 6 o'clock tomorrow, that will be unboxed and you will be repeating that program tomorrow night just to see if it can still kick your ass at sea level? Well, you're not quite at sea level where you are, right?
I'm pretty close. I'm maybe 800 feet, maybe 1,000. So yeah, sea level. When it comes in, I'm recording with my buddy Oscar Chalupsky, a world-class athlete, tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Right after that, I will be setting it up. As a matter of fact, I'm looking for one of my Brooks saddles to put on it because I'm going to modify it right from the beginning. And I'm putting clips on it. I'm going to put SPD clips on it so I can use my cycling shoes. I'm not just going to use the flat pedals. I'm not going to use the big fat seat they give you. I will use the Brooks, all the stuff I like. I'm going to customize it right out of the box, right? And yes, I will get on it. I will warm up, and I will repeat. I'm going to go find that program.
Just whatever that program was. Yeah, acid bath. Yeah. Which sounds great metal name, by the way.
Yeah.
So why something, Vinnie, like the assault bike versus something like Carol? Have you seen the Carol bike?
No. Spell it for me.
Carol, I believe. One of the things that people love about that is that it really is targeted at making sure you are doing maximum work in minimum time, right? They throw out the word AI just like everybody else throws out the word AI, but they are using your previous workouts to show you how you're doing compared to what the program is. And they're making sure that you hit that goal in an incremental way, is my understanding of it. Right. So if you're not quite meeting the power output, maybe they lower the resistance to make sure that you're in exactly where you want to be at all times.
I'm looking at it right here. All right. So I don't know what it costs, or it looks like they have a heavy wheel on it, but it looks like it's also a free wheel, because I'm sure they show the guy sprinting and then letting up and at free wheels, which could be a cool thing. I'm guessing this is not cheap. The reason why I already have a spinner and I can already do this workout on my spinner. That's a great question, Chris, because I could do this workout on my Schwinn spinner, right? And it would be nice if you could tell me how much. Let's see it. Shop now. Let's see what they charge for these. I'm gonna pretend.
Where are you seeing? Oh, I was like, I'm sitting here looking at the page, looking for a shop now button.
Okay, this is a $2,600 bike. And I'm not going to spend that kind of money just to see power output and everything else. That's a lot of money, right? I get where you are, and I get what they're doing here, but most people wouldn't know what that means anyway. Does that make sense?
So that's why I'm asking the question, because for somebody like you have a good enough gauge of what you are doing that you don't necessarily need the system to say, hey, slow down, or hey, speed up.
Right. I can look at my heart rate and see where I am, with power and exertion and everything else, because I've been to this dance for the past 40 years, right? I don't think the average person will get anything out of spending $2,600 on information they don't understand. Now, if you're a ranked amateur or something in the cycling world and you want to spend that kind of money and see what you can do, that's one thing. All I'm looking for, I like the fact that, the assault bike, you're using your hands, you're using all of your extremities, your arms, your legs, the whole thing. And by the way, I'm going to be using the assault bike whenever I'm going to start doing 2 HIIT workouts a week. And once I break into it, it will be a combination of a HIIT workout where I'm using the assault bike and my Concept 2 rower, right? So I'm going to be using 2 different dynamics, coming from 2 different angles to achieve a goal. And by the way, it won't be on day one. I'm not going to be like a Rocky video where I hop off of the assault bike after 20 minutes and get on my rower and go for it. There's going to be a back and forth, right? Like I'm going to get good on the assault bike. I'm going to keep doing my zone 2 aerobics on the rowing machine. But at some point, I'm going to start doing some on the assault bike, some on the rowing machine to get as many capillaries and as much mitochondrial health as I can. And on top of that, I've already earmarked a place in town where I can go get a starting VO2 max. And then I'm going to get another VO2 max 6 months from now to see what happens, right? So I'm not just leaving it to chance. I know my VO2 max is probably not, it's going to be better than the average person because I'm very aerobically fit. My resting heart rate right now is like 46 or 47. So I know I'm very aerobically fit. I know my VO2 max is going to be up there for any age group, but I want to see how high I can get it, right? And the other thing I'm doing in the new year is for the past 4 or 5 years, ever since I moved here, and I wasn't in Southern California anymore, where I could just do crazy amount of aerobics and go for long bike rides or whatever, I started doing the 365 hours of aerobics, at least aerobics, but every year has been like 420 or 450 or whatever. I'm coming back off of that a little bit because you can't do everything, right? Now is the time to add some muscle mass to prove that at 62, you can still put on muscle. Add strength to prove that at 62, you can add strength even without taking any kind of exogenous hormones. And get my VO2 max to where it used to be. Right? Those are the goals. So, and by the way, notice I'm not waiting until January, even though I still have to finish my goal for this year of the 365. And right now I'm at 338 hours and 30 minutes. Right? So I'm almost there. What, 20, 30 hours away maybe from getting there? I'm going to easily get there. But there's a new goal. There's a new sheriff in town, right? I was doing something for a reason. I didn't have Southern California and the bike riding and the hiking and the camping and all this to get I had to create something when I moved here. And we moved here and then COVID happened. And that's where the 365 came in. I got to get my aerobics in. Guess what? COVID is in a rearview mirror. Life is normal. And I can go do other things now. And I'm telling you guys this about me because I want you to think about you. These might not be your goals, right? You may have other goals. Chris, you look like you wanted to say something.
No, and I think it's important to understand, Vinny, your goals don't make sense for human beings, right? For like regular people, because they're not you. And so understanding that you are doing this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go get an assault bike. It doesn't mean that you have to go look at Carol. It doesn't mean that you should be measuring your VO2 max unless that's something that you're paying particular attention to for whatever reason. But you do need to have some sort of an objective for where you're going with this, whether it's on the food side of things or whether it's on the exercise side of things. And you and I talked the last time we sat down and did an episode on exercise about the importance of writing things down and tracking it. Yes, you can use an app, but even I, Captain Millennial, write things down. Why do I do that? Because it becomes more real when you do that. And writing down that goal now, or at least thinking about that goal and what you're going to need to achieve that in the new year, is a good step in that direction. And I know the last time we talked about this, we also talked about the importance of not waiting, right? Feeling that resistance and saying, look, now is the time that I need to do this. If I'm feeling that I should do something, but I have that little voice in my head that says, oh, I can do that later, or I have another 3 weeks before I need to do that, that's usually a sign that you're at a place where you're ready to grow, right? You mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, nearly wetting your pants all week long, not being able to focus, thinking about not being able to tackle the running back, right? That is a good sign that you are in the right place. You're in the place to grow, because if you're not worried about it, then it's just become routine and we need to shake something up differently. If you are worried about it, you have the time to prepare yourself mentally and physically. So if it's something you're thinking about and you're procrastinating on it, you're doing that for whatever reason, that is a sign that it's something you need to be doing. I think for everybody right now, whatever that goal is, just start moving in that direction. You're not waiting until January to jump on the assault bike. You're going to jump on it tomorrow afternoon when it comes in, right? But it doesn't mean that's what everybody's goal is. If it's just getting up off the couch, cool, go do that. If it's getting into the gym more or bringing something into the house so that you can do a little bit more workouts at home, that's fine too. But you need to start making progress in that direction.
I'm going to bring up someone who follows along NSNG. I want to say he's about my age. For whatever reason, I want to say he's a couple of 2 or 3 years younger, but it doesn't matter. He's in that late 50s, early 60s category. And he's been following along. The first time I met the guy was in Kansas City. He showed up. We had a meetup, Ann and I, long before, I think, you were around, just working with the company back then. We had a meetup years ago. And this guy, Kurt Lepird, showed up. Most people know him as Kurt Lepird. And he and I got on really well because he's my age and we have the same, and he's a sensible guy. He's a businessman. He owns it. This is going to sound odd, folks. I did not prepare for this. The shirt I have on right now, look at this. The Flying Pig, that's his bar and grill. He sent me this the other day. This is not, I did not plan this. I just have this shirt on today. But Kurt Lepird owns a place called the Flying Pig up in North Dakota. And he sends me t-shirts from time to time. Maybe that's why I like him so much. At any rate, Kurt, he knows everything I do. He's in a VIP group. He's one of the admins on the Facebook group and all the stuff. But Kurt also does consults with me. Not very often, but he checks in once or twice a year and he does a consult, right? And I want to say maybe beginning of this year, I can't remember exactly when. Time just passes so quickly. But he said, hey, man, I want to do the same kind of bro split that you do in the gym. His brother owns a gym up in North Dakota, by the way, right? So he has no reason. And I think he was messing around, working out. His wife was going with him at night. They would go work out a little bit. And he goes, give me your, how do you do it? And I gave him my push-pull legs and said, do it, get to the end, start over again. You want to hit both twice a week if you really want to gain strength. He put a picture up on Twitter last night, formerly known as Twitter, X. Do you have a copy of that photo? Do you have
it? Pull it up real quick, yeah.
The guy, I looked at it and went, Jesus Christ, Guns of Navarro. The guy's pulling it together. And I know what Kurt looked like before that. He wasn't like a slob of any sort, but I'm looking at that going, this, you could be our age and move it along. Sean Baker, great example. People are always going, Sean Baker must be on juice. He's on gear. He's on steroids, the whole thing. I don't know if there's the photo. Look at that guy.
I didn't realize I was going to feel emasculated coming on the show today, but if anything makes you want to get in the gym and add a little bulk, Kurt Lepird will do that for you.
Yeah, look at him. Good looking man right there. If I was gay and he was gay, I'd ask him out. Right? I'm married. He's married. Huh?
Never hurts to ask.
But we're both married, and our wives would get upset and the whole thing. He did ask me if I wanted to go ice fishing or something. So I don't know if that was code. Maybe it was.
Oh, it's definitely code.
Oh, that's code? Wait a minute. I told him, by no means will I ever go ice fishing. I hate being cold. And they're explaining to me, oh, it's not cold. It's like we're sitting on a fucking piece of ice with a hole drilled in it. Don't explain to me how it's not cold.
There's nothing weirder than a couple dudes sitting in a shack around a hole in ice. Although, Vinnie, in defense of Mr. Kurt Lepird and the sport or activity of ice fishing, I guess it would be a sport because there's something trying to stop you, right? The fish doesn't want to be caught, so we'll call it a sport. There are some glamour. You know what glamping is. Right, like fancy camping. There's some glamping ice shacks. They throw some TVs in there.
But I don't want TV. I just, me. Look, I like the great outdoors. I like fishing. I like hunting. I like doing it all. But when you put ice with fishing, I'm out. I'm good. You know, I don't, you know, I don't need to be out there. That's for someone else. I've
So,
always contended that ice fishing was for guys who are really just trying to get away from their wives. See what he's pulling up.
but now you can do it in style, Vinny. Now you can do it in style.
Yeah, but that doesn't look like ice fishing to me. That looks like, you see, I don't like that. I don't like that.
This is too classy, right? When I think ice fishing, I think lean-to shack. This to me,
yeah, that's ice fishing.
This is ice fishing.
Yeah.
Right. And even this is fancy. This has windows and stuff.
Yeah, that's too
right?
nice. That's too nice. You know, I think it's guys with the little flaps on it. Hey, look here, and we're gonna do this, you know, that kind of thing.
This is my new favorite website and picture, right? It's from Brojex, which I guess is Bro Projects.
Yeah.
And it's just a vinyl ice fishing tent, which seems like the worst of all possibilities.
Yeah, that does not look good to me. I want like you know, when I think of ice fishing, I think of like an old thing that smells and is right there and you got a hole drilled in and that's it. That's all I need to know about ice fishing, right? No more, no less. And for some reason, I'm thinking you're drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon. Do they still make that?
Oh, they do. And it's obligatory, right? I mean, that you have to do that.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of just an open wood fire, right? Like not even no electric heat, just, you know, Swedish.
Yeah, let's go out on ice and build a fire. That sounds like we're not going to get in trouble. Yeah, who can die from that? I don't know. At any rate, you know, Kurt looks good, right? And I'm looking at Kurt going, yeah, we need to get there. I need to, you know, look, Jack LaLanne is my hero, and I'm trying to follow in his footsteps. And that guy was still swimming with like 75 boats. Look up the last time Jack LaLanne. Do people even know that story anymore? Every year for his birthday, he would hook another boat and he would pull these boats and swim like, I'm not exaggerating, somewhere between 1 mile and 3 miles. And I think he did it well into his 70s.
It seems the last one was 70 on his 70th birthday.
All right, how many boats did he carry and how far did he go? He would literally hook boats to him. 70 boats. So all right, go on, Chris.
70 boats for his 70th birthday is the one that I keep seeing people talking about.
Yeah.
For a mile.
Swam for a mile, pulling 70 boats behind him. Come on. You sit there and go, oh, I'm getting old. 70 years old. This guy was amazing. Keeping up, swimming, lifting weights, doing it all. You know, when people go, who's your hero? That man right there. And by the way, his wife, LaLanne, the most unfortunate name you can have, is still doing it. She was like 90 or something last year and still skateboarding. I'm not making that up. Find pictures of that. That's Jack LaLanne pulling the boat, right?
That's got to be the greatest picture of him ever, though. Look at that face. I'd be making that face too if I was pulling those boats.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And by the way, these aren't little light boats. He's pulling boats. He's pulling big wooden boats. The man was crazy, but he did it, right? And if he could do it, I could do it. And folks, if I could do it, you can do it. Boom. We'll make that the final word, Chris. We'll just make that the final word right there. This is coming out like in 2 weeks. How are we doing on vitamins, Chris? Can we give them an update?
Theoretically, in 2 weeks, we have B12.
Yeah.
Vitamin D and magnesium should either be on the way to us or going through their final QA.
Okay.
Assuming we have magically transported ourselves into the future and everything
goes.
No
hangups happen, because we know hangups happen, but yeah.
Well, and that I think is the biggest thing that can happen from here moving forward is the testing process. Right. And you and I have talked about this in the past. If you guys are Pure Vitamin Club customers, you know that we are, for lack of a better term, anal about the testing that we do and making sure that nothing is in there. And one of the problems that we've run into throughout the course of the year is we put in an order and they go, yeah, everything's fine. And then you get the test results back and you go, why is that in there?
Yeah.
Well, we have no idea. Okay, go ahead and remake it. Right. We ran into that at least once this year already that I remember. And so that's the only thing that looks like it's going to be the hiccup. From the conversation I had yesterday, as of recording this, not future Chris talking about this, but as of yesterday,
Right.
they had all of the ingredients that they needed, and they're just dealing with scheduling and testing. So we should be at a place where we're starting to ship stuff again, which is fun.
Yeah. We will never let go of just the stringent tests that we do to make sure that we do sell the best and purest product on the market, period. No other company does it. We do it. And that's the commitment. And, you know, during the whole pandemic and when supply chains broke and everything, we could have gone to all kinds of cheap methods and the whole thing. And I literally said to everyone, I would rather go broke than to do this. Bottom line, let's go broke. Let's go out of business. I'm not going away from the commitment, and we're pulling through it. We walk through the fire. We're getting to the other side of it. I know that we are doing better with customer communication, way better. We've hired someone who's wonderful, Miss Jackie, and she's doing a wonderful job there. And we're going to become the company that we once was, and we're going to go beyond that because we have a lot of stuff that we want to do, products that we're talking about, things that we want to do in the future that I think everyone's going to be happy with. It's my commitment, Chris's commitment, Serena's commitment, who's now working with the company. And I'm very happy about that. Serena is doing an incredible, wouldn't you say, Chris?
Yeah. She's calling me right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. I'm making Chris say something nice about his boss, basically, but she's doing an incredible job on her end. And I can't thank her enough for wanting to help me, stepping in and just taking the reins. And folks, this is on top of, she was gone. She was in California. She did 39 episodes of a soap opera. And a soap opera, think of this, it's like you got to learn lines every day. It's like doing homework every single day. And you have to stand and deliver every day on the set. And they don't give an F. When it's your time to go on, it's your time to go on. And she still did everything she did for the company on top of that. So kudos to my wife. Kudos to Chris. They're making it all happen. Go check all of that out. The movie, Fat Document. No, Jesus Christ.
That one too. Fat too. Dirty Keto.
Dirty Keto is out there, folks. It's on Amazon. Go check it out right now. Dirty Keto. Go give it a look right now. It's on Amazon. You want to see it. Before you go to Amazon, go to VinnieTortorich.com. Click through the banner. It puts coal on the fire. It gets my train down the track. Chris, if you need to talk to him, he's at purevitaminclub.com. You can go check that out. Just go to Pure Vitamin Club. You can contact him there. Either he'll pick up the phone or Miss Jackie Jones will pick it up. And I'm very proud of both of them. They're doing a great job. I talked about this group during the show. We just kind of ran by it, but it's a movie I think everyone should watch if they're getting ready to get into their fitness program. It's a movie called Vision Quest, and the song is called Lunatic Fringe. So on behalf of Chris Shaffer, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with Lunatic Fringe.